Jax's revenge domain.
I knew something was wrong when the intern called me the server whisperer. Not Mac, not Mr. Peterson, the server whisperer. Like I was some kind of tech museum exhibit that still knew how to make the old machines work. My name's Marcus Peterson, but everyone calls me Mac. I'm 49 years old, and I've been keeping this company's network backbone running for 15 years. Used to be, that meant something around here. Used to be, when the server started making that grinding noise at 2 a.m., they'd call me first. Not anymore. The new CEO, Bryce Warner, thinks I'm a relic. Kid's 28, fresh MBA from Stanford, and he's got this vision about replacing all us legacy resources with AI automation. That's corporate speak for firing anyone old enough to remember when passwords weren't just password 123. Bryce is Howard Warner's son, and Howard built this company from the ground up. Good man Howard, knew the value of experience. Worked his way up from sales rep to CEO over 30 years, back when handshake deals still meant something. But Howard retired last spring at 67, handed the keys to Junior, and now everything's about digital transformation and human resource optimization. Makes me sick. I still remember when Howard hired me. It was 2009, right after the financial crash. I'd been laid off from my previous job at 34, spent 6 months looking for work, and Howard took a chance on me. Said he needed someone who understood that technology wasn't just about the newest gadgets, but about building systems that wouldn't fall apart when things got complicated. Those were good years. Howard would stop by the server room, ask how things were running, actually listen to the answers. When we had that massive power outage in 2015, he was right there with us, rolling up his sleeves, helping coordinate the emergency generator setup. He understood that infrastructure isn't glamorous, but it's what keeps everything else working. The writing was on the wall when they brought in Kane Mitchell about 8 months ago. This consultant with a beard that probably cost more to maintain than my monthly truck payment. Kane kept talking about modernizing our antiquated infrastructure protocols and how AI could handle routine maintenance tasks better than humans. Routine maintenance tasks, that's what they called my job. Kaney would walk through the server room like he was touring a junkyard, pointing at equipment, and asking why we still used legacy hardware when cloud solutions could do everything faster and cheaper. The guy had probably never seen a network crash at 3 a.m., never had to trace a cable through 15 years of additions and modifications to find the one connection that was causing intermittent failures. I tried explaining it to him once. How our network wasn't just a collection of devices, but an ecosystem, how every server, every switch, every cable had a history. How some of our most critical systems ran on hardware that was technically obsolete but had been customized so heavily over the years that replacing them would mean rebuilding half our infrastructure from scratch. Kaney just nodded and made notes on his tablet, probably writing old man doesn't understand progress or something equally patronizing. The whole thing came to a head about 3 months ago. I'd been asking for budget approval to upgrade our backup systems. Nothing fancy, just replacing some drives that were showing early warning signs and adding redundancy to our disaster recovery protocols. The kind of unglamorous but critical work that keeps companies from losing everything when things go sideways. Kane shot it down. Said the AI monitoring systems could predict failures before they happened. So redundant backups were wasteful spending. Said we should be focusing on forward-looking solutions instead of maintaining legacy dependencies. I remember the exact moment I decided to do something about it. Bryce called me into his corner office, the one that used to be his dad's. Still had Howard's golf trophies on the shelf, but now there was some kind of meditation app playing whale sounds in the background. Mac, he said, not even looking up from his tablet, we need to talk about your role moving forward. I sat down in the same chair where Howard had given me my 10-year anniversary bonus, where we talked about my retirement planning back when that seemed like something I'd get to choose for myself instead of something being forced on me. The boards approved our infrastructure modernization initiative, Bryce continued. Kaney's team will be implementing automated monitoring systems that can handle 90% of what you currently do. We're thinking about offering you an early retirement package. Early retirement at 49, in a tech job market that thinks anyone over 45 is basically a dinosaur. The package wasn't terrible, honestly. 18 months severance, continued health benefits, even some stock options that might be worth something if the company didn't collapse after they got rid of everyone who actually knew how things worked. But it wasn't about the money, it was about respect. About being treated like a human being instead of a piece of equipment that had outlived its usefulness. I didn't argue, didn't get angry, just nodded and said, let me think about it. But I was already thinking. Had been thinking actually ever since Kane started sniffing around our server room like a realtor appraising a house for demolition. See, here's what Bryce and his AI consultants didn't understand about our network. It wasn't just cables and servers and switches, it was relationships, dependencies. Every system I'd built over the years was connected to every other system, and those connections weren't documented in any manual Kane could read. Take our backup protocols, for instance. The automated systems could handle the daily incrementals. Sure, but the full disaster recovery, that required knowing which servers to bring online first, which databases needed manual verification, which network segments had to be isolated during the restore process. You couldn't just push a button and hope for the best. I'd tried to document it all over the years, but there were always exceptions. Always weird little quirks that only made sense if you'd been there when something broke at 3 a.m. on a Sunday and had to jury-rig a solution that somehow became permanent, like the authentication server that had to be restarted in a specific sequence, or the backup database that only worked properly if you cleared the temp logs first, or the network switch in Building C that would randomly drop connections unless you power cycled it every 6 months. These weren't bugs, exactly. They were more like scars. Evidence of 15 years of crisis management, midnight fixes, and making do with what we had instead of what we needed. Every IT department has them. The difference is most places eventually replace the systems that accumulate too many scars. We just kept patching and moving forward. Howard understood this. He'd been around long enough to know that sometimes the most reliable solution isn't the most elegant one. Sometimes a system works because someone who knows its quirks is watching over it, not because it's perfectly designed. But Bryce and Kane, they saw inefficiency where Howard saw experience. They saw outdated procedures where he saw institutional knowledge. They wanted everything clean and automated and predictable, which sounds great until something unpredictable happens. So I did what any reasonable person would do when they're about to be replaced by a machine. I gave myself an insurance policy. It started with the infrastructure contracts. Every major client we had required signed authorization for any changes to their data handling protocols. Standard stuff, really. Legal boilerplate that covered our liability if something went wrong during maintenance or upgrades. What wasn't standard was the clause I added to the template about 6 months ago, right around the time Kane started making his grand modernization plans. It was buried in section 7.3.2 of the technical specifications, the part that only someone with my clearance level would ever read carefully. Critical infrastructure modifications and disaster recovery authorization shall be executed solely by designated Senior Infrastructure Director Marcus Peterson or explicitly documented successor with equivalent system knowledge and clearance. I didn't make it obvious, didn't bold it or highlight it or stick it in its own section. Just slipped it in between the standard language about backup procedures and data retention policies. Legal approved it without blinking. Why wouldn't they? I was the Senior Infrastructure Director. The clause just formalized what was already true. I was the only one with the knowledge and clearance to make major changes to our core systems. The beautiful thing about infrastructure contracts is that they're like insurance policies. Nobody reads them carefully until something goes wrong. And in the tech business, something always goes wrong. Over the next few months, I made sure that clause ended up in every new contract we signed. Client renewals, vendor agreements, service level contracts, anywhere that touched our infrastructure requirements. Each time, legal rubber stamped it as standard language. Each time, the client signed without question. By the time Kane's automation project kicked into high gear, I had legal protection embedded in contracts worth about 60% of our annual revenue. Not that I was planning to use it, you understand. It was just there, just in case. Meanwhile, Kane was having a field day redesigning our operations. He brought in a team of junior consultants, all fresh-faced kids with degrees in cybersecurity and cloud computing, all convinced they could revolutionize our legacy architecture with the latest automated tools. They spent weeks mapping our network, creating flowcharts and diagrams that looked impressive in PowerPoint presentations but missed half the actual connections. They installed monitoring software that could track hundreds of metrics in real time but couldn't tell the difference between a hardware failure and a scheduled maintenance window. Kane held weekly progress meetings where he'd show off dashboards full of colorful graphs and performance metrics. Everything was optimized and streamlined and future-ready. Bryce ate it up, started talking about Kane's team like they were revolutionizing the entire industry. The funny thing was, some of their improvements actually worked. The new monitoring tools did catch issues faster than my old methods. The automated patch management system did reduce downtime during updates. The AI-driven traffic analysis did identify bottlenecks I hadn't noticed, but they were solving the easy problems. The routine stuff that happens every day and follows predictable patterns, they weren't preparing for the weird stuff. The once-in-a-year disasters that don't follow any pattern and require someone who understands not just how the systems are supposed to work, but how they actually work when everything goes sideways. I could see it coming, had seen it before actually at my previous job during the dot-com crash. Management gets excited about some new technology that promises to do everything cheaper and faster. They start viewing experienced employees as expensive overhead instead of valuable assets. They convince themselves that automation can replace institutional knowledge. Sometimes they're right, sometimes the old way really is inefficient and the new way really is better. But sometimes they're wrong, and by the time they figure it out, the people who could have saved them are already gone. Dennis Rodriguez, our CTO, saw it too. He'd been around almost as long as me, understood the difference between theoretical improvements and practical solutions. We'd started having quiet conversations over coffee, the kind where you don't say what you're really thinking, but both people understand anyway. "How's the retirement planning going?" he asked one morning, stirring sugar into his coffee like it required his complete attention. "Still thinking about it," I said. "You?" "Same, though I hear they're not really asking anymore." He was right, of course. The writing was on the wall for anyone who'd been in corporate long enough to read between the lines. Kane's team wasn't just modernizing our systems, they were documenting everything we did so they could prove we weren't needed anymore. Kane's automated monitoring systems went live on a Tuesday in October. Big rollout, complete with a company-wide email about entering a new era of operational excellence. Bryce even came down to the server room to watch Kane flip the symbolic switch, like we were launching a space shuttle instead of turning on some software. By Thursday, they'd missed 3 minor issues that I would have caught in my sleep. First was a temperature spike in server rack C. Nothing dramatic, just a 5-degree increase that suggested one of the cooling fans was starting to fail. The AI monitoring flagged it as within acceptable parameters because, technically, it was. But I knew that particular rack, knew it ran hot even under the best conditions. A 5-degree spike meant we had maybe 2 weeks before a full cooling failure that could take down half our database servers. I didn't report it. Wasn't my job anymore, according to the new protocols. Second was an unusual traffic pattern on our external firewall. Someone was probing our defenses, sending small packets to different ports, mapping our network topology. Classic reconnaissance behavior. The AI system logged it as routine external traffic because it stayed under the volume thresholds Kane's team had programmed. But I'd seen this pattern before. Slow, methodical, patient, the kind of probing that takes weeks to complete, but gives attackers a complete blueprint of your infrastructure before they strike. Most automated systems miss it because they're looking for dramatic spikes or obvious attack signatures. This was more like someone casing a house before a burglary. Again, I didn't report it. Not my responsibility anymore. Third was a backup verification that failed silently. Our automated backup system ran every night, copying critical data to offsite storage. Kane's monitoring showed green lights across the board, backup completed successfully, all files transferred, no errors detected. Except the verification hash was wrong, the backup had completed, but the files were corrupted during transfer. Not obviously corrupted, they'd open and display normally, but try to restore from them during an actual emergency, and you'd discover about 30% of the data was unusable. I'd seen this exact failure pattern 3 years ago, tracked it down to a network timeout issue that happened when our internet connection got congested during peak hours, fixed it by adjusting the transfer protocol settings and scheduling backups for a different time window. Nothing complicated, but it required knowing the history. Kane's AI didn't know the history. It just saw that the backup process completed without throwing an error, so everything must be fine. 3 strikes, 3 failures that could cripple the company if they happened at the wrong time, and nobody noticed except the guy they were trying to replace. Friday afternoon, Kane stood in front of the whole IT department with a PowerPoint presentation about optimization metrics and efficiency gains. He had charts showing how the AI systems were handling routine tasks 40% faster than manual processes. Graphs demonstrating reduced response times and improved uptime statistics. He was right, of course, the AI was faster. It just wasn't smarter. Questions? Kane asked, clicking to his final slide with a picture of a rocket ship and the words, "The future is now," in bold letters. Dennis raised his hand. What about edge cases? Scenarios that don't fit the programmed parameters? Great question, Kane said, which is consultant speak for I was hoping nobody would ask that. The beauty of machine learning is that it continuously adapts. The more data it processes, the better it gets at handling exceptions. But what if something happens that's never happened before? Dennis pressed. Something outside the training data set. Kane smiled, that patient smile consultants use when they think they're dealing with dinosaurs who don't understand progress. That's exactly why we have escalation protocols. The system flags anything it can't handle and routes it to the appropriate human resources. Human resources. Not human experts, not people who understand the systems, Just generic human resources like we were interchangeable parts. I knew what was coming. Had known for weeks, actually ever since I'd started noticing the patterns in our security logs. Someone was testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses, mapping our network topology. The automated systems were flagging it as routine traffic because it stayed under the volume thresholds and didn't match any known attack signatures. But I recognized the methodology. Slow, systematic, professional. This wasn't some script kiddie looking for easy targets. This was someone with patience and expertise, taking their time to understand our infrastructure before making their move. Old-school ransomware crews operated like this. They'd spend months learning a target's systems, identifying critical servers, mapping network dependencies. Then, when they finally struck, they knew exactly which systems to hit for maximum damage and minimum detection time. Caney's AI monitoring was looking for the wrong things. It was trained to detect obvious attacks, massive traffic spikes, known malware signatures, unauthorized access attempts. It wasn't programmed to recognize reconnaissance that looked like normal business traffic. Monday morning, I came in early. Old habit from 15 years of being the guy who had to clean up weekend disasters. Used to be, I'd spend the first hour checking overnight logs, making sure all the automated backups had completed correctly, verifying that our intrusion detection hadn't missed anything important. But I wasn't supposed to do that anymore. Kane's systems were handling it. I got myself a cup of coffee from the machine in the break room, the one that had been broken for 6 months, until I finally fixed it myself because facilities kept saying they'd get to it. Sat at my desk and opened my personal laptop instead of the company terminal. I had some woodworking videos I'd been meaning to watch. Project for my garage workshop, building a cabinet for my tools, seemed like a good way to spend the morning while Kane's AI systems handled everything. At 9:47 a.m., the first servers started going offline. By 10:15, we had a full-scale ransomware attack spreading across our network faster than Kane's automated defenses could respond. Every file on every server was being encrypted, and the attackers were demanding 50 bitcoins to release the description keys. The office went into chaos mode, people running between cubicles, phones ringing nonstop, Bryce screaming into his headset at some emergency response firm he'd found on Google. I could hear Kane in the server room frantically typing commands that weren't working, his voice getting higher and more panicked with each failed attempt. The automated systems had protocol responses for normal intrusions, but this wasn't normal. This was surgical, precise. The attackers had mapped our entire network topology during those weeks of reconnaissance and knew exactly which servers to hit first to maximize damage while minimizing detection time. They'd taken down our authentication servers first, cutting off access to administrative tools. Then the backup controllers, making it impossible to restore from our automated backup systems. Finally, they'd isolated the database servers, ensuring that even if we could regain control, we'd have no way to verify data integrity. It was a masterpiece of systematic destruction. The kind of attack that takes months to plan and seconds to execute. Dennis Rodriguez found me at my desk around 11:30. I was calmly eating a ham sandwich and watching the network status dashboard turn red one segment at a time, like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. "Mac," he said, his voice tight with stress, "we need your help." "Sorry," I said, taking another bite of my sandwich. "I'm just legacy staff, remember?" "Kane's got this handled." Dennis sat down in the chair beside my desk. We'd worked together for 8 years. He knew me well enough to recognize when I was making a point. "How bad is it?" he asked quietly. I pulled up the real network map on my secondary monitor, the one that showed all the connections Kane's systems didn't know about, the dependencies that weren't documented in any of his flowcharts, the backup pathways that required manual authorization to access. "Bad," I said. "They hit everything that mattered and ignored everything that didn't. Professional job. But they made one mistake." "What's that?" "They assumed Kane's automated systems were managing the disaster recovery protocols. They're not. Those still require manual authorization from someone with the right clearance and system knowledge." Dennis stared at the map, understanding dawning on his face. "The infrastructure contracts. Yep." At 12:45, Bryce showed up at my desk. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 hours. His expensive suit was wrinkled. There were sweat stains under his arms, and his usually perfect hair was disheveled from running his hands through it. "Mac," he said, his voice cracking slightly, "I need you to restore our systems." I leaned back in my chair, finished the last bite of my sandwich, and wiped my hands on a napkin. "Can't do it, boss. Kane's team is handling infrastructure now. Remember, I'm just waiting for my retirement package. This isn't the time for games, Mac. No games. But I can't authorize disaster recovery protocols without proper documentation." Company policy. Bryce's face went from pale to red. What documentation? I pulled out a printed copy of the infrastructure contract, the one with my buried clause highlighted in yellow. This one, Section 7.3.2. All disaster recovery operations require authorization from the designated senior infrastructure director with equivalent system knowledge and clearance. That's you. Was me. But according to Kane's organizational restructuring, that position doesn't exist anymore. I'm just a legacy resource consultant. Remember, I don't have authorization to make system-wide changes. The silence stretched out long enough for us to hear Kane in the background, explaining to someone on the phone why the automated failover systems weren't working. His voice had gone from confident to desperate. "What do you want?" Bryce finally asked. I stood up, straightened my shoulders, and looked him in the eye. Same thing I wanted 6 months ago when your dad talked to me about retirement planning. Respect, recognition, and a seat at the table when you're making decisions about systems I built. Monica Stevens from legal showed up 20 minutes later with emergency documentation naming me as acting senior infrastructure director with full system recovery authorization. She'd probably broken several company procedures cutting through the red tape that fast, but sometimes emergencies require creative interpretations of policy. I didn't gloat, didn't make speeches, just walked into the server room, pulled out my personal laptop, and started typing commands that Kane's systems didn't know existed. The recovery took 6 hours, not because it was technically difficult, but because I did it methodically, verifying each step, checking dependencies that weren't in any manual. I had to bring systems online in a specific sequence, verify database integrity at each stage, and manually authorize access to backup systems that the automated tools couldn't reach. Kane watched over my shoulder for the first hour, asking questions about procedures that weren't in his documentation. Eventually, he just sat quietly, taking notes, beginning to understand the difference between knowing how systems are supposed to work and knowing how they actually work when everything goes wrong. By 6 p.m., we were back online. All data recovered, no ransom paid, minimal permanent damage. The attackers' encryption keys were worthless because they'd never actually penetrated our core backup systems, the ones that required manual authorization to access. The next morning, Howard Warner was back in the building. Apparently, Bryce had called his dad when the emergency response firm wanted to charge $500,000 for professional ransomware recovery services with no guarantee of success. 3 days later, I had a new business card, Chief Technology Officer, reporting directly to the board of directors. Salary increase, equity package, and a mandate to integrate automated systems with human expertise instead of replacing one with the other. Kane's contract was terminated. Bryce got moved to strategic development, which everyone knew was corporate purgatory. He lasted about 6 months before finding a position at some startup that probably deserved him. The funny thing is, I'm not angry anymore. Turns out, the best revenge isn't getting even. It's being proven right. We've got AI monitoring systems now, sure. But they report to humans who understand what they're monitoring. We've documented our disaster recovery protocols, but we've also trained a new generation of engineers who know when to follow the manual and when to trust their experience. Look, if you're listening to this and you're over 45, working in tech or any field where they keep talking about automation replacing experience, here's what I learned. Sometimes the old ways aren't obsolete. They're just waiting for someone smart enough to figure out how they fit with the new ways. And sometimes, when you've been doing something for 15 years, the best insurance policy isn't your retirement plan. It's making sure you're the only one who knows where all the switches are. Don't let them write you off as legacy. You're not outdated hardware, you're institutional knowledge, and that's worth more than any AI system they can buy.